Hey there, and welcome to this week's episode of Soulful Sunday. I'm Lori MacLean. If you haven't been here before, this is my YouTube channel. It's called RA Raw. It's where I share tips and tricks for folks like me who have rheumatoid arthritis. I was diagnosed at the age of 2 with the disease, and I've learned a few things along the way. And I decided that I wanted to share that with people, that there was a reason. That's why I started this series as well. It's called Soulful Sunday. It's where I bring spirituality to chronic pain, something that I have leaned upon quite heavily in the last few years to help me navigate the crazy waters of life. Stick around. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. Let's talk about boundaries. So before we get into talking about how to set boundaries, we need to identify what boundaries are. Basically, what boundaries are is it's saying what you will and will not accept, how people can and can't treat you. I heard something the other day and it really resonated with me and made tons of sense. And that was, we teach people how to treat us. And isn't that so true? If someone says something to us that is upsetting to us, for example, the last video I did about toxic individuals, one of the points that I made was about someone in my wife's life who would often say to her, "You look like shit." To me, that's completely unacceptable. I, in that situation, most likely would do as my wife did and not say anything. I would be upset about it, but I would internalize it and I wouldn't say anything, which then gives the impression, it parlays the message that saying those types of things to us are okay. Treating us like that is okay. So right there, you have set the example. You have taught that person how to treat you. Now, if we'd responded in that situation with, "That's not acceptable that you say that to me. A, it hurts my feelings, and B, it's rude. And I don't accept that. So please respect me and don't say that." That's what a boundary is. You're teaching people how to treat you. So how do we do that? Well, here's the first thing is you have to know your limits. Know what things are acceptable to you. Know what situations cause certain emotions. Here's another example. I don't do well in large crowds. It stresses me out. For example, when I go to the exhibition or the fair, that is extremely stressful for me because there's large crowds, there's people moving, there's all kinds of emotions coming at me from all of the people around. Plus, just navigating through a crowd can be very difficult for me. Mobility issues, yes, definitely. But I also have low vision. So when it comes to navigating through a crowd, that's extremely stressful because I'm constantly watching to make sure that I'm not running into someone, that I'm not knocking someone over. Children, strollers, those, just everything is quite causes stress. So I know that about myself. I also know that confrontation stresses the hell out of me. I will do anything to avoid confrontation with someone. If it hurts me, I will just internalize it. I won't say anything. I won't stand up and say, "Wait a minute, that's not acceptable," like the other example I gave. This is when setting boundaries becomes important. You have to let people know and you have to be aware of what your boundaries are. Be very aware constantly of what you're feeling. It's something that we don't really do. We just kind of navigate through life and we don't really tune in and do that check. Is that okay for me? After I've been with this person, how do I feel? Those things are extremely important. Number 2, the second tip I have is when you're setting your boundaries, be direct about what is acceptable from people for you. Let them know that that's not okay. Let them know that that is where your boundary is. So for example, coworkers, you may choose to not share a lot about your private life with your coworkers, because that's where your boundary sits. You know, coworkers are actually people that we really have to instill and enforce those boundaries with. We can't just avoid people that we don't see eye to eye with. We can't avoid people that we normally wouldn't have in our lives at work. You can't go to your employer and say, you need to get rid of so-and-so because I don't agree with how they think, or, they come at me with toxicity. So you really have to learn then to set your boundaries in place. So you need to be direct and decide for you, once again, what that's going to look like. I had a work situation where I knew that my coworker and I did not have similar beliefs in spirituality and politics, everything. We were polar opposites on that. He was very vocal about his politics. He was very vocal about his religion. He was very set in his ways, so to speak. I also knew that he did not approve of gay marriage. Now, for those of you, again, who have watched me for a while, you know that I've been married to my wife now for 7 years. So I knew that to have certain conversations with this coworker was going to cause me stress, that it was just going to flare me up. So I just avoided those topics of conversation, kept it very superficial, talked about the weather, and that, we had a similar background in the sense that we both came from a farming background. So I was able to talk to him about that, but that's where it stopped. And kudos to him. He would never come at me with politics or religion or, his views on homosexuality. That line was drawn, and he did respect that, and I was grateful for that. There are going to be times when we can't control everything. For example, I can't always control being in large crowds. Sometimes I just have to be in large crowds of people. What I do before entering large crowds and after being in a large crowd, this is where that becomes extremely important. Before I enter the situation, I will always do a calming meditation. I will always take a few moments to center myself, to ground myself, and to ask for protection from my guides and angels. I will envision white light around me as a protective bubble. And then after I've been in the crowd, because as I say, I also pick up on energies. I feel things from people deeply. After I have been in that large crowd, when I get home or when I get back in the vehicle, I will do the same thing. I will take a moment and I will just breathe. Take some deep cleansing breaths in and exhaling deeply. That all really, really helps me. So what I'm going to do is next week, I'm going to put up a video that will be a meditation to help ground you, to help you in negative situations. As I said, we can't always control it. So then we just have to institute a really good, healthy dose of self-care. Now, I'm mostly talking about people talking, saying things, having conversations. But something that we all face when we have chronic pain is we will often get invited to go places to do things. I flat out tell people, listen, I'm totally up for going out for coffee, for meeting, for whatever. But Mondays, forget about it, because I do an injection on Sundays that wipes me out for about 24 to 36 hours. So Mondays most definitely are a no-go. It's always been respected. People know that. Sometimes, yes, it means that I have to remind them that, no, Mondays don't work for me. But that's something that I'm okay with. I'm okay with telling people that. When I was in college in my 20s, I would have friends call me up at 9 o'clock at night and say, hey, let's go for a coffee. Let's go for a drink. Let's do this. Let's do that. I was different from a lot of my college friends. My body would shut down at about 9 o'clock at night. I'd be done that would be it for me. It'd be over. I would have to get in my pajamas and, just take care of myself in the evening. I didn't always, and that would lead to disaster. I would burn out. So I began to learn, Okay, going out in the evening isn't always easy. If I did, I knew that I would have to take care of myself for X amount of days prior to going out. Yes, I would have people who would try and convince me or force me. You know, they would just say, listen, we'll only stay for an hour. It won't be that bad. We'll keep it a short night. Well, if you know college kids, it's never a short night. So I would really have to stand firm and stand my ground with that. That's where knowing your limits again comes into play. I knew that if I stayed out too late, I would pay for it for days and days and days. Being self-aware is one of the most important aspects of setting boundaries. We already are living with a depleted battery with only so much energy, and that battery does not recharge as quick as everybody else's. It takes time. So this is where the boundary thing comes into play. If you just constantly give, and if you're like me and you are a people pleaser, where saying no really causes you stress, setting boundaries can help to eliminate some of that stress. The guilt that goes along with saying no for us is immense. I know that. And it's to understand that you're not being a bad person. You're not being a bad friend. You're just taking care of you. Another analogy that I like to use is the one of cups. You have to fill your own cup before you can give anyone else water for theirs. You have to take care of you. You have to make sure that you are okay. Because if you don't make sure that you are okay, no one else is going to do that for you. So it's really important that you do these things to protect yourself. So I hope this helps you. I would love to hear from you. Comment below. Share with me how you set boundaries, if you even do. If you have any advice for other warriors, please do so. Comment below. If you like this video, hit the like button and feel free to share this as well on social media. Everybody take care, and I will be back next week with another video. Bye for now.